Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Game with Love podcast, a place for all games and all people. I'm Chase McEwen, joined today by Ty Greenall,
That's me.
Kai Arnsdorf,
Yo.
and our guest, Austin Shaw.
Hello.
Cool. Today we are going to be talking about gaming music, some of our favorite tracks in gaming. But first of all, we just want to give a quick mention to Ukraine and Russia. Our thoughts are with all the innocent people suffering from that right now. This is a very stressful time for everybody, but hopefully talking about video games will take your mind off of it. We're going to start, as always, with one thing we love in the industry in the past couple weeks, and we'll start with Kai. Tell us.
All right, awesome. All right, well, I think one of the bigger things that's happened is that Steam Decks are finally being released and sent out to the public. People are actually getting their hands on the machinery. It's really cool, portable technology. It always seemed like kind of the next step of what I really wanted out of the Switch, which was almost more of like a tablet gaming hybrid sort of idea. Like what I always felt like was missing from the Switch was like actually having like an internet browser or like the ability to use like streaming apps to actually watch stuff, so I could basically just use the Switch as a tablet but I'm not playing games with it. And we finally have that freedom with the Steam Deck.
It's essentially just a handheld computer. Like you can do whatever you could on your PC.
I will say, on that note, it is actually super weird now that you mention it that the Switch hasn't caved after all these years and put Netflix on there, because that feels like such an easy shoe-in, right?
It's actually wild how it doesn't have YouTube
like
or
Netflix, Crunchyroll. It has YouTube, but that's it. That's
okay.
the only one.
But like that's crazy.
Twitch, like nothing. It's so weird.
It shows an example of just how Nintendo as a company can be both very ahead of the times and very behind the times at the same time. Like the Switch is an amazing piece of technology, but why is there no streaming services?
Yeah,
it literally just feels like just because that Nintendo, they're a little old fashioned and they just haven't caught up.
Hopefully, some competition will cause them to kind of kick it into next gear with their whatever their next big announcement may be.
Especially since Steam, you don't have to pay a monthly rate in order to use it and play online games. And, Steam functions and Nintendo's online service doesn't. It's horrible. It's terrible. And you have to pay money for it, which is a joke.
Yeah. That is a good one, though. I'm excited for what will come out in the future, like other companies' versions of the Steam Deck. It'd be cool to see what Razer does or like other gaming companies. We'll go to Austin. What's your thing you loved recently?
So, the thing I love for this month of gaming would be, the big theme is transparency. The one I wanted to talk about, though, was Elden Ring's launch, and specifically, the PC performance issues. So, the thing I love about this is that, quickly, so I guess to give background, Elden Ring's launch, the PC port, unsurprisingly, given FromSoft's track record, is not great. There is quite a few performance issues on all ranges of systems. Even if you have like a 3090, you'll encounter some instances where your game will freeze up. But they put out quickly to put out a response message saying that they're looking into the performance issues and they're actively working on to solve them. So I like that the company is quick to admit that yes, our game has problems, and yes, we're trying to actively fix it. It doesn't really say a whole lot else, but it is nice to know that they're actively improving on their game. Now, it'd be great if the game came out without performance issues. In PC, it's a little more difficult because everyone's system is so different.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is this is happening on the consoles as well. Like the PS5 version of Elden Ring is having huge performance issues. Like the only way to get a consistent frame rate on PS5 is to literally play the PS4 version of the game on the PlayStation 5.
Yes.
That's silly.
It is nice to have them admit it and not try and just sweep it under the rug like there's nothing wrong with it. They're like actively working on it.
It's just weird for a company with the caliber of FromSoft to just release a game this unoptimized. It's like,
I mean, you say that,
crap.
But when have they ever released it?
The Die Edition exists. Trust me, I bought it.
Well, not even compared to Die Edition. Like Bloodborne doesn't have a release in which it can run above like 30 in all areas.
Like ridiculous.
Their games consistently run poorly.
Yeah, but I mean that's also on the PS4, which was already kind of hardware when it came out.
It's definitely not to the caliber of like Cyberpunk's release, but it's like
No.
it's still not what it should be for a launch of a big game like this. But
Yeah, for sure.
No.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna be honest with the performance issues. I'm a little disappointed in FromSoft for these performance issues.
Yeah,
It shouldn't have been released in this state. It could have used another month or two in the oven.
Yeah, I saw today that it's getting its first user Metacritic reviews at like soft sevens kind of right
Ooh.
now.
Specifically,
Yeah, and I-
probably
Yeah,
for
just
those
as a
issues.
performance.
Yeah.
And I think it's all
probably
because of
hugely
performance issues. I think
for
they
that
just get the
performance.
game and they're not happy with the state it's in. Understandably so. I think every year that goes by, I think games are harder and harder to make, and
Yeah.
it's to expect the same, development cycle timeline of like 3 years to come out with a game. We're going to get a lot more of these. We saw it with Cyberpunk, and people are going to get crunched, and games are going to get thrown out like half baked or like not complete. And I don't think that's.
But
really gonna
like
change.
for someone who spends like $2,000 on their rig, you really don't want games that are not working well. If you spend thousands of dollars on a rig just to get games to perform well, and they're hitting like sub 30 frames, and it's nothing that's wrong with your rig, it's literally the game.
Yeah,
I completely understand why people are frustrated with this. And it's a trend that you're right has been happening in the industry a lot, especially this past month. Like almost every major release this month has had huge performance issues. I've heard that in the industry, like the QA guys are getting sacked a lot, and QA all across the industry is just not in a good place right now. And I can absolutely feel that. Literally, if these companies just put more money into their QA, these problems could be solved before the public ever hits them, and then these things never become an issue. I just don't understand why companies
True.
don't do this.
It's also possible that they kind of have specifically been crunching a little bit recently to fix that RCE bug we talked about, I think, on the last podcast, Kai. Like that's also a major thing that came up within a few weeks of the game's launch that kind of forced them to restructure the games online, right? Like
That's true, but by the point that happened, which was
true, the
earlier
game
in
should
the
have already
month-
been basically done at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're coming to a few weeks before release, like I assume the product is basically finished.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
Ty, do you want to hit us with yours?
Yeah, my thing that I loved is a little bit lighter than either of those two. My thing is that in 2018, Celeste won Best Indie Game at the Game Awards. That's my thing that I loved this month.
Did you just popped back into your head?
No, but for real though, the actual thing is that they never received their physical game award, their actual trophy, and just this last week, a YouTuber found it on eBay for sale, and his name is Prestige is Key. So shout out to that guy. It looks like he mostly makes Call of Duty videos. But he found their game award on eBay, bought it, and returned it to them, and I think
That's
is
amazing.
the sweetest thing. Yeah, because they absolutely deserve that award,
Why did
baby.
they not
And
receive? That's so
I
weird.
don't know, it looks like it was some kind of mix-up. Like it just got lost
Interesting.
in all the things being shuffled around at the event, and it ended up with some rando who
Well, what a
sold it on
homie.
eBay.
that's probably an insane story on that trophy that we'll never know about.
Yeah,
like, how did
right?
it get to
Yeah.
that man's hands
There's
to
a
get it on
whole-
eBay?
There's a whole animated movie about that trophy, like falling
Yeah.
into a dump truck and then into some kids.
I was just
back
gonna say
from
maybe
way
their
home
next
from
game will
school.
be about the lost trophy that they never got.
But yeah, that was my thing.
That's a good one. I like that. I had no idea that was an issue. Yeah, mine is just the creators of This War of Mine. I think they're 11-Bit Studios. Yeah, 11-Bit Studios. They are donating all the proceeds to any future sales of This War of Mine to Ukraine Red Cross, which is awesome. Seems to be a bunch of developers are kind of following that suit now. I know GOG is selling This War of Mine as well for all the profits, and I think a bunch of other games as well. And Bungie and one other big CD Projekt Red. They're doing a lot
And
of their
Ubisoft,
proceeds.
I also saw Ubisoft as
Cool.
well.
Yeah, so that's nice to see people in the gaming industry stepping up for that. And
Also,
providing some relief.
GOG is owned by CD Projekt Red.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
No worries.
Cool. Well, there's just a couple little light news from the gaming industry, and we're going to get right into some gaming music. Yeah, we're just going to play like 30 seconds of each track. We've each brought 3 tracks today. We're going to cycle through Austin, Kai, Ty, and then me, and just talk about them. A lot of these we're all familiar with, so we'll all be able to add our own inputs. But yeah, we're just going to first play 30 seconds of Austin's first song, which is Love the Subhuman Self from Guilty Gear Strive. So
Hell yeah.
let me cue that up.
I'll warn you right now to anyone who hasn't heard this song. This is a
It's a certified banger.
It's a
Hold
certified
on.
banger. It truly is. Hold on to your pants, older folks at home.
Okay, here we go. Ready? And here we go. Nope. that's
Play next.
1 sec.
Not
Wait, no,
quite how I
you
remember
just
it, but
hit
maybe
skip,
it starts
right?
up.
There.
No.
That sounds like Guilty Gear, all right.
Okay, ready? Here it is.
Austin, do you want to kick off talking about that?
Yeah, sure. All right. So I chose that song because I really wanted to, first of all, highlight the Strive soundtrack altogether. That song in particular, I think is my favorite song off the Strive soundtrack. I think I really love like the energy that it brings, and I also love like the female vocals. I think do a really good job in most of the songs, and I think this one's no exception.
Yeah, I have never heard that track, and it's better than the intro in my opinion.
Milia Rage's theme. She's my main. She's a babe. She's got cool hair swords and a big fur coat. And you
She
hear
likes
that
throwing
song
blue discs.
every time you play as her in training mode. So I've heard it a lot.
Yeah, actually, so I definitely didn't want to choose Eno's theme because I play Eno, and in training mode I will play so much Eno.
Great song. At the same time, in
Hear
training
that theme
mode.
on repeat for so long. But so what I liked
Eno's
about
theme's amazing.
yeah, Eno's themes is really good as well. Well, they're all really good, and I think part of the reason why they're really good is like you can tell that Daisuke really cares about first of all his characters, and then that care really gets translated into the music for his characters because how he writes each song is so personalized to like
Absolutely.
the growth and development of the character. Like Emilia's whole theme is about self acceptance, love the subhuman self, and she's still like you gotta live with that and carry on, and then that's how he bursts out into the chorus.
There was a lot of like transitions. It really feels like she's like fighting an inner battle, like, and the music's like changing like 3 or 4 times, and then it just like amps up to the chorus where she's like screaming, and it's real good. I like that a lot.
I was gonna say it amps up any fight that you're in with her. It really gets the blood pumping in the game.
It's not just that song though. Like it's like you say, Austin. Like just spotlight on the entire Guilty Gear Strive soundtrack because literally it's straight bangers. Like that is one of my favorite songs from the soundtrack too. But it's a toss up. It's in my top 3 or 5 maybe somewhere. But there's a lot of really good tracks in there.
Yeah, and I think Chase pointed out, but like the song's dynamic, and all of the songs are pretty dynamic. Like they change. They might speed up, slow down. They might have a bunch of instruments, then they'll take away the instruments. It doesn't stay the same for very long. Especially, I think Faust's theme is also a really good example of that. Like it completely changes halfway through the song, which I think is so cool, and it does a lot for telling the story about the character through music. But that brings me to my second point about this, and it's a little bit of a hot take, but I think this song and most of the Guilty Gear Strive character soundtrack is actually not great fighting game music.
For that same reason you spoke about, because of the changes in tone?
For the same reason I spoke about, it's so dynamic, things change a lot. And you have to understand, Guilty Gear is a very fast-paced game. Rounds will end very quickly. So if the song can't get there fast enough, you could go with like pretty much silence or like a little like very quiet music for the first bit. A character just came out, Biken, for example. Biken's song, I think, takes like 30 to 50 seconds to start properly. The game might be over by then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you might not get to the end before you actually hear Biken's song start. And I also think, this is a very personal take though, but I think that vocals in fighting game music, for me, it makes it harder to focus. I think if there's someone actually
I agree with that.
singing with lyrics, I think it's harder to focus on the match because the voices are a bit of a distraction.
I feel like if the that issue you mentioned with the tone constantly changing and like instruments coming in and out was lessened, then the vocals would maybe be a little less distracting. But because like you have like quiet sections with low instrumentals and then really loud sections at the same time, like the vocals probably really stand out. Also, like, yeah, you're right. It can absolutely take away from focus when you're listening for sound cues from specific characters for their moves, right? Like,
yep.
That's your brain reacts to auditory stimulus a lot faster than it does visual.
Mm-hmm.
And when the music is going haywire in the background, it can be hard to pick out something specific you're looking for.
Yeah, that was a good first track though. I would listen to that outside of the game for sure.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
listened to that entire soundtrack outside of the
Oh,
game.
absolutely on repeat. I love the whole soundtrack. I think it's so good, and even like each DLC character they come out with, every song's a banger somehow. They never fail.
All right, let's move on to our next track from Kai, A Story You Won't Believe from The Witcher 3.
Yee.
And here it is. Kai, you wanna start us off on that one?
Yeah, so for any of you that have played The Witcher 3, you would recognize that as one of the many Gwent songs in the game. And I think all the Gwent music is equally fantastic. This is literally just the one that stands out to me the most. But every single one of these tracks for Gwent is a banger. This is Gwent is completely optional in The Witcher 3. You can go through the entire thing completely ignoring it and not even hearing this part of the soundtrack. And yet they have this awesome soundtrack to accompany this game that's within a game. So you're playing this awesome card game, which can get really intense, with this really fun tavern music in the background that always enforces the fact that you're having fun. And it's just really just pleasant to listen to. Sometimes I'll just go and, like, if I'm playing something like Sea of Thieves or something, we'll throw on Gwent music in the background because it fits that game amazingly well. Like, it's just, they're just great songs. In an already fantastic soundtrack, but I think these are the most fun to listen to, and this just really accentuates that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was very like a cliche, but it still had a lot of personality. Like the flute was just like kind of riffing, and it definitely felt like tavern music for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking full on like Irish bar fight music right there.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Yeah.
Something's about to break out.
yeah.
Yeah, with
It
that
fits The Witcher perfectly, you know.
Yeah, with that song, it just sounds like there's like a story to be told. You know, it sounds like he's someone sitting down, like they grab a beer at the bar, and like they're about to like tell about their big long journey, something on horseback. You know, and I think I haven't played The Witcher myself, but I feel like that really is kind of certainly fits the vibe that The Witcher encapsulates. So,
For sure.
and I like Sea of Thieves as well. Absolutely, I could see that. So no wonder.
Yeah, I could see that being played in the background of like a D&D session, just on loop.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, good song. All right, now we're going to play one from Ty that we're probably all familiar with.
If you're not familiar with this song, you're not a real gamer. That's just how
Yeah.
it be, boys and girls.
If you don't bust this song out at karaoke, what are you even doing? It's Snake Eater from Metal Gear Solid 3. Let's give it a listen.
What a thrill, with darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill, I'm searching and I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart, but you're so supreme. I give my life, not for honor, but for you. In my time, there'll be no one else. Crime, it's the way I
All right, Ty, start us off.
Yeah, that feels like a good place to end it. Wow. I mean, just like, it's so iconic. I have so much fun anytime I hear that song come on. Shout out to Cynthia Harrell, or Harrell, however you say that last name, for some of the most iconic vocals in any gaming song ever. But yeah, no other game has ever had a ladder climbing theme exclusively than Metal Gear 3, so it wins just by being so unique, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to it being in MGS4 as well.
Yeah, with the little callback.
With the little callback, you get to kick Liquid's ass to this theme, and it's kind of fun as fuck.
Yep. Yeah, it's also the final boss theme of Metal Gear Solid 3. It's also the opening scene music. It's just like they knew how good of a track they had on their hands, and they put it all over the game. And that theme remains, and I'm pretty sure it's in MGS5 too. In the Walkman, you can go and listen to it. Like they respect their music in that franchise for sure.
Yeah, the vocals in that song are absolutely incredible. They're so good. It's amazing.
It's impossible not to groove along. Like, it's just impossible.
Doesn't it sound like a Bond theme? Like, that's what I love about it. It's so Bond like. It's great. It's like, oh my goodness, yes.
Because that's exactly what they're going for, right?
For the MGS3 vibe. Like, MGS3 is meant to very much feel like a Bond movie, right?
Yeah.
So it fits perfectly.
Yeah, I always love games with lyrics. There's not enough games with lyrics. As someone who likes to play a lot of gaming music outside of games, I want more games with banger lyrics like that I can sing along to.
Problem is, talented singers and talented lyricists are both hard to come by and expensive.
One other thing I liked about that song was just it's not afraid to be goofy as well. Sometimes, like, something like, when do they say about eating a tree frog?
On a tree frog.
yeah. It's just like it doesn't forget it's like goofy Metal Gear Solid feel as well either. It's like doesn't take itself too seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what Kojima's a master at.
At the same time,
not taking himself too seriously.
It's true.
You know?
It's true. It's a Kojima masterpiece because it doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time, it's an amazing dramatic closeout to MGS3. And when you're fighting the boss, and you're fighting in the field of flowers. Spoilers for MGS3, everybody, for a freaking 15-year-old game. But you're fighting her in the field of flowers, and the song plays like twice, once instrumentally and once with lyrics during the fight, and it's just chills every time.
Yeah, that's a good song. All right, we're moving on to my first one, which is Paradise Stay Forever from Paradise Killer.
This is a cool ass game that I need to get around to finishing one day.
Here we go.
Come on now. Say you don't like me, lady. 'Cause you got me going out of my mind. And now I'm a killer, oh baby. Well, I see you in a perfect 25. So I gotta know. Grab a drink 'cause it's gonna take a while to get a taste for the lie behind those smiles. Oh, baby, why show me, baby?
All right, that's Paradise Stay Forever from Paradise Killer. It's a song that plays right after the opening. Like, it sets the scene, gives you some exposition, and then you jump off this giant tower and see like the beach below you and the giant island that you're going to be exploring the whole game, and that's the song that plays, and it like sets the scene for the game so perfectly, and I really enjoy it. What do you guys think?
Damn, it's so good. Yeah, no, it's got a lot of that like funk vibe to it, and like, you know, I can just tell listening to that song. It's like, yeah, this song probably encapsulates the game's vibe perfectly.
You could tell me that was like an upcoming song from Persona 6's soundtrack, and I would not have been surprised.
Yeah, it just it does a good job at setting the scene, and also just like the whole soundtrack is something that I'll play on like a rainy day if I want to feel like some summer beach vibes. It just, all of it feels very Miami kind of vibes, and yeah, I really dig it. Just brings up your mood.
That's a huge part of the game's identity too, for anyone who hasn't played it. Like,
it really makes you want to just explore this island and be in the sun.
It would also be like good streaming music for like technical difficulty stuff. Like if you have
That's
technical
true,
difficulties,
actually.
just plant the screen, pop that song. Audience is sticking around.
And now, because you've said that, Kai, if we ever actually use that in the future, it's officially a callback to an OG
Yeah.
podcast episode.
We're gonna do technical difficulties of that. We have a lot of technical difficulties, so you'll hear that song a lot.
Get used to it, folks. Get used to
What are you
it.
talking about, Chase? Everything has gone perfectly technical wise. I don't know what you're talking about.
I guess if you're gonna have playing a lot of technical difficulties, might as well make it a good song. Or you can make it a song that grates on you, so you'll feel pressured to improve your technical
That's
prowess
true.
and not run into these difficulties. Oh no, we'll have to hear
Just a ticking metronome.
Yeah, the Jeopardy theme.
Right, that's our first batch of songs, so we're back up to Austin. And Austin's next song is In Circles from the lovely Transistor. We have 3 Supergiant songs in this.
You should have warned me. I brought like 10 extra songs to sub in.
Nah, it's cool. We could always do this again if we enjoy it.
Okay,
so.
okay. Fair enough.
And here we go.
I hear you buzzing, a fly on the wall, in through the window and up through the hall, flying in circles, just trying to land. I see you hurting. I do what I can, but I won't save you. I won't save you.
Perfect. Austin?
Yeah, so there are so many songs you could pick from any one of Supergiant's games. Transistor's personally one of my favorite of the Supergiant's games, and I think that Transistor and Pyre have the best soundtracks. So I went with Transistor, and why I chose this song in particular is because I really like where it happens in the game. So I think this is the first lyric song, maybe the second lyric song you hear, but the first one that comes up in a boss fight. And there's a lot of storytelling going on in the song itself. The lyrics actually kind of describe you fight Sybil in the game, and the lyrics kind of actually describe their relationship. The protagonist and then Sybil and their relationship. And I think it's really well done, and like all of it, the vocals are always amazing. And yeah, I don't know. I really liked the song, and it was the first time in Transistor's music. When I was first playing through Transistor, I was like, damn, this song has some really good music.
Yeah.
This is so sick.
Well, thank you for prefacing the rest of this podcast, because apparently we have 2 more
Yeah.
Supergiant songs. You really aren't far there by saying you could bring any song from their games, but yeah, Transistor soundtrack is absolutely amazing, and more people need to be onto that game because it is so very good.
Yep. I sat down and played that with headphones and was just like so taken aback by the music. I play the soundtrack at work all the time, and I've actually recently really come around to In Circles. I mean, I always liked it, but I would usually play like Paper Boats or like some of the non-lyric songs. But
Yeah.
after listening to this a couple times recently, I'm like, oh, this song's so good. The like chorus just hits real well, and then it like also towards the end it starts to pick up and like get a little bit more bombastic, and yeah, it's a great song. Cool. Except we have Kai with one final effort from Halo 3.
Yes, Halo 3. Yes.
Here we go. Not gonna lie, that gave me goosebumps. I forgot how good Halo 3's music is.
Yeah.
Like that just shot me back to 2007.
It's amazing, man. Like Halo 3 soundtrack is fantastic. But the main reason why I picked One Final Effort over, say, like Halo 3 ODST soundtrack, like the ambient soundtrack of that game is phenomenal, is just the story significance of when this song comes in. This starts right at the beginning of the level The Covenant, which is the final Covenant level in the trilogy. It's meant to be that we're going for that one big final push. And you just land on the beach with your Spartan laser and you're just obliterating everybody to Marty O'Donnell's banging piano beats. When this song came on when I was playing the game, I'm like, God damn, this is one of the all-time great soundtracks. It's fantastic. It just edged out ODST for me. Yeah, no, it's just a fantastic song. And
Probably
not
my-
very many Halo songs have piano in them. So
Probably my personal favorite track from across the entire Halo soundtrack soundscape.
Yeah, the piano hits so hard in that, just like like climbing up and down the keys is so good. Austin, did you ever play Halo?
I did. I mean, I've played Halo. I didn't own any of the Halos. I never played through any of the stories, so I'm missing out on like the story significance of the song. But what I love about it, though, hearing it, I mean, it's so iconic that I even know it. I can recognize it instantly. Not having played the game, the soundtrack just transcends that, and it's part of pop culture. But like, it's just got such a consistent like motif where it's just like you'd hear like, oh, that's the Halo 3 theme, but it's like no, it's just another song in the story. But they've always bring back to that melodic line, or like that harmonic line, da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Like they keep coming back to it, and like the way they do it, then they bring it in with the piano, like you said. Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really good.
All the best soundtracks seem to have, or all at least my favorite soundtracks seem to have like a good through line motif, like going.
Yeah,
on
they got
in
a
all their
good
songs.
central idea,
Yeah.
and they keep coming back to it. No. I'll
The
save
mark
it
of
for
a good
later.
composer, man. I don't know what to tell you.
for sure.
Yeah,
Marty's
absolutely.
one of the all-time greats, man.
Yep, agreed.
He's fantastic.
And you can hear it in that song.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Cool. Next up, we've got Ty with Good Riddance from Hades. Is there multiple versions of this one, or is this the?
Yes.
Okay. Which
This
one?
is. I was hoping to get the duet.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah, I was about to say, is this the Eurydice song?
It is the Eurydice song for all those
I was gonna
Hades
say,
gamers.
hope
out
we
there.
mentioned the Eurydice song if we're talking Super Giant.
Yes.
Also, shout out to the composer of Hades being the voice of Zagreus and being the best Hades player at Super Giant, which is hilarious.
We love you, Darren. We love you so much.
And here we go. Cool. Yeah.
We're just. Oof.
Such a good song.
So I agree with what you said earlier, Austin, about Transistor being a top tier. I think Hades edges out Pyre, although I do love both games' soundtracks. I really, truly do. And the reason I specifically wanted to get the duet from this game in there is just because of the way it's kind of used with the storytelling at play. Building up to it, you meet this character, Eurydice, who is kind of like a safe spot in your run, who is guaranteed to just like give you a room to rest and also an upgrade. And she's usually singing a song by herself. And then when you progress in the story and realize that Orpheus is her partner, and they've been separated for so long. Eventually you get to hear Orpheus's solo version as he like sings it to himself sadly in the hall, and then there's a sense of like triumph and victory to it when you actually complete the quest, and you get to hear the duet version every time you go into that room, and like they're just happy and hanging out again, and it's like, yeah, I did that. I brought these two back together, and now I get this gorgeous song. And yeah, it's really lovely. I love it a lot.
Yeah, it brings me right back to my Hades speedrunning days when I'd walk into their room. I'm like, the clock is stopped. They got some nice music. I'm gonna get some buffs.
Pick my
It's
feet
just a nice
up.
calm before. It's a
Pick a
nice calm
treat.
before the storm.
Yeah.
You can spend as long as you want in there. No one cares.
Just another testament to Darren Korb's ability to incorporate music into telling like so dynamically. Like that's so cool to have two songs separately recorded and then have them together at the end. Like, yes, very fulfilling to not only complete a quest,
Absolutely.
but to have like a huge reward like that. And Darren Korb needs to sing more. He's so fucking like
He's
Yeah,
so
I was about to
talented.
say, like, can we give some respect for Darren Korb's singing like that whole game? Like,
Yeah.
Straight up.
incredible.
as Orpheus, like, damn, I didn't.
Yeah,
Holy
no, the dude's a voice prodigy to begin with. Like
Yeah,
the
And-
voice acting talent he displays in that game is out of this
Yeah.
world. Like all the
And-
characters he voices sounds completely different from one another.
Yes, and also pairing that talent with Ashley Barrett's absolutely phenomenal female vocals that we already
Mhm,
mentioned
mhm.
on the Transistor song from earlier. Like, it's just a match made in heaven. And like, yeah, like fairly recently we saw those two come up on stage at the Game Awards. Like, we want to talk about things transcending into pop culture. Like, these two fully just showed up and played their song in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere, and everyone was down for it because like they're just some of the best in the industry right now doing what they do.
and then Imagine Dragons showed up.
And then Imagine Dragons showed up to ruin it with their stupid AAA League of Legends bullshit.
The worst part of Arcane is that theme song. honestly.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't
I
like
think-
the theme song.
I feel like it fits the show pretty well, but
Yeah, sure. but
No,
I
no,
just-
there's a part. If you haven't seen Arcane, there's a part where it comes in the show, and it's terrible.
Oh, so
I hate how
forced.
how it's handled. Everything is just
all right, I agree with that.
Moving on to my second song, which is another Transistor song. It is "Old Friends" from Transistor. So, let me
all
get
right
that
then.
queued up. The Supergiant trifecta in this round.
If only we had known, then Austin could have brought a Pyre song. We could have rigged the game.
All right, here we go, my friends. All right. Yeah, another game for me that like just really sets the scene. This is the first song that's played in Transistor, and right away I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be a game with a good soundtrack." And it really, I don't know, captures like a very strong feeling of like melancholy or like nostalgia. You know, I mean, it's even called Old Friends. It's just like harkening back to something that you used to have with someone, and that's the way the whole song feels. And it just like sneakily complicated drums in there too. Like I really love the duh 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 duh, but then they keep like mixing that up too and adding in a couple extra beats in there, and it's just really strong start to that game.
I was gonna say the drum work really stuck out to me too. Like I really liked when the cymbals were kicked in, and I think that's what those are called, the metal discs on the drum. Is that a cymbal? Am I
No,
correct?
they call
in
them
that?
metal discs. The drummers call them metal.
Yeah, but you hit your fucking metal disc, you stupid idiot. Yeah, no, I when the cymbal kicked in, like, yeah, I was like, okay, this is some really fucking amazing drum work going on right here.
Yeah.
I would love to hear Darren go back and maybe not go back, but kind of retread and go back to doing some more industrial type music like that on a future soundtrack at some point. Like maybe not as the central theme like it is in Transistor, because that's kind of the sound design for the whole game, but something kind of similar, working in that kind of techno-y world would really shine a light for him. I feel like, because damn, Transistor soundtrack is so good. Oh, baby.
Austin, you want to touch on it?
Yeah, no, well, I think to really highlight why we all thought the drums was so good, what I really liked about it was like the melody comes in on the guitar and it hits every quarter note, just straight on, dun, 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 dun. Like it just hits all the quarter notes. And then as soon as the drums come in, they break that and they start hitting on the eighth notes. And you're like, damn, there's some like syncopated rhythm going on in here. And it really sticks out. And what I really like about the all the non-vocal Transistor songs is they always have like two forms. They have you have the form that you hear when you run around the world, and you also have the form when you use your stop time ability, or you go into like
You do the humming too.
Yeah, you do the humming, and I think that's so great for like the the environmental storytelling of just like the fact, yeah, she did lose her voice to the sword, and so when she uses the sword's powers, she can hear herself humming, or the player can hear the humming, because at that point you're kind of in the sword's world, not hers. So I like just Transistor overall. Just music's so integrated, and I think this first song is such a highlight of that. And like Chase said, like the world, you just feel like you're in some melancholy. It's sad, but it's also familiar to a degree, and it's a little dark, and that's kind of what you feel when you start out the game. So yeah, no, excellent track.
Cool. All right, we're out of the Supergiant block. And we're on to Austin's final song, a classic, Dire Dire Docks from Super Mario 64. Okay, here we go. All right. I wanted to get to the double time, but we can just have Austin talk
it
about
comes
that.
up so late in the song.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead, Austin.
Dire Dire Docks might be one of my favorite video game music pieces of all time. I think it's really, really good, especially for the time when it came out, and it brings a lot of like super interesting ideas. It's adaptive when you're in game, so depending on where you are in the level, which part of the song plays changes, and I think it really captures sort of water video game music to a degree. It captures it so well. You've got a very iconic, well-written melody line. Like that melody line is like the perfect example of being like not too. It's sounding like so simple, so simplistic and familiar, but like so catchy. Like it's really well written. And then as the song goes on, it just keeps layering on top of itself. Extra instruments get brought in. You get some low strings coming in. And eventually, like you mentioned, the double time drums, which is my favorite part, is when the double time drums come in. And then it really starts to pick up the pace of the song, which you weren't expecting. Yeah, no, I think it's an amazing underwater piece.
If I was ever in a sensory deprivation tank, I'd just want Dire Dire Docks playing the whole time.
Yeah,
I was in there.
So soothing at the
That
start.
wouldn't really be sensory deprivation at that point.
One sense.
If I can have one sense in its ears, then I'm listening to this song.
Yeah. Anyone else want to touch on Dire Dire Docks?
I don't think there's anything I can say that hasn't been said about this song before. It is a classic. You're right about that. It's amazing.
It just reminds me of all my wonderful hours in my childhood spent drowning Mario. And anything that reminds me of that is golden.
Yeah. Funny enough, this song's called Dire Dire Docks, but it first shows up in Jolly Roger Bay, which I find pretty funny. It's not Dire Dire Docks, the level, which it actually first shows up in.
Cool. Yeah, great song. And now we move on to Kai with Something Secret Steers Us from Half-Life 2, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And boom. There we go.
Yeah, this is the one I was saying like needs like a minute and a half. So
Yeah, that's cool. We'll let it ride. I'm going to check on Zuko. All right, Kai, take it away.
Yeah, no, fucking great track. For fans of Half-Life, you probably know that this song did originally appear in the original Half-Life. There it's called Nuclear Mission Jam. But the reason I chose Half-Life 2's version of it is, again, story significance. It's a song that marks a change of tone for the game. For the first 8 chapters of the game, you're essentially on the run from the Combine. Like, they're right on your heels the whole time, and Gordon just has to just move, move, move. He's on the run, he's on the retreat. You don't feel like you're going through Combine left, right, and center, but you don't really feel like you're the one in control. You're just trying to desperately survive in this world. When you get to this part in the chapter Sand Traps, which this is the lighthouse fight, this is the point in the game where the tone shifts, the chase ends, and Gordon's basically had enough, and he's just planting his feet in the ground and saying, fuck this, I'm moving forward, we're taking the fight to the Combine. And it's just a very great song just to get that transition part of the story down correctly without having to have any dialogue to get those tones across. Just another thing that just Half-Life 2 storytelling just does so fucking brilliantly. That game's storytelling is just on another level at another point, at a lot of points in it. And this song encapsulates that, in my opinion. Much better used than I think in Half-Life 1. Half-Life 1, I don't even, like, I remember the songs there, I just don't remember its use. But on top of that, it's just a good song. So
feels like very era appropriate. Like, it feels like a Time Splitters song, like in that like FPS like era. I liked it. Mm-hmm. Austin, Ty, anything?
Well, I just want to add, yeah, it just sounds kind of badass, you know, but like not in an overly like explosions, like metal guitar kind of way, but like the way it grooves, you're just like, yeah, this is badass.
Yeah, it's very groovy.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's also like on your point about the story significance of the moment, Kai, like it's also a pretty big shift, I feel like, from like what's been playing as far as like I don't know, the music in the previous chapters feels a little bit more subdued, and then in that moment it definitely feels like it's like chains off, like let's go.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually another reason why I love it so much. You put it in perfectly.
Cool. All right. Well, we're on to Ty's last song now, which is a great one. Mantis Lords from Hollow Knight. Yeah, that song is so good. Go
Oh
ahead,
man,
Ty.
some of the best boss music in any game ever. First of all, it's my one of my favorite tracks from the game. It's just that fight is so ridiculously well designed. I could talk about it for a very long time, but I will spare you all the trouble. But looping back to something we did talk about earlier, which is incorporating like motifs throughout your game and incorporating one through line theme throughout the entire soundtrack. No other game does that better than Hollow Knight. Just barred none. Like
Oh yeah,
it's
the
it's
leitmotif
so
in Hollow
great.
Knight is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Like even in that fight, which is a fairly frantic fight and a pretty frantic song too, that you still hear that really like slow, subdued like main theme from the main menu. You hear those piano chords in the exact same order, and it plays across most of the soundtrack in some way, shape, or form. And then Chase, I just sent you another track that we can also play quickly for like 10 seconds. Honestly,
Sure.
there is a amped up version of that fight that they added to the DLC, and it's just I feel like is a really good illustration of how they incorporate the previous songs and like how they incorporate that motif throughout everything in the game.
Cool. I'll jam it right now.
Honestly enough,
Yeah.
like that's a DLC track for a more difficult version of the same fight. But like what I mean with an easy illustration is just like they want to amp up the intensity even further for that more difficult Sisters of Battle version of the fight. And so you hear the trumpets come in, you hear the horns come in, you hear the chorus, like the choir come in with the chanting too. It's just like they're so good at taking previously established tracks and morphing them into something new in that game. And by God, if it doesn't work for my ears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the chorus adds so much weight to it. It just sounded so much bigger when the chorus was playing in the second version. It's insane. The fight is so frantic and it's captured so perfectly in that song. Like you
Yep.
mentioned that it's a frantic song, and yeah, it's a frantic song because it's a frantic fight. They're coming at you left and right. You don't know what's gonna happen, and the music captures that so well.
They
Yep.
also that song does it really good. I mean, they do it throughout the soundtrack, but like the runs, like going up and down, and also like in this one particularly, they have like the 3 different versions, like the da, na, 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 climbing, and then there's 3 different versions of that, and then it pairs them all together, like because you're fighting the 3 Mantis Lords. It's like, oh,
Yep.
so good. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite. Like that boss fight is absolutely memorable from gameplay alone, but the music just like puts it next.
Because the music is such part of that fight too, right? Because the fight is always going to be on the exact same beats. The attacks always come on the exact same beats.
Yeah.
Sonically to the music, so they have that luxury of being able to perfectly pair a song to a boss, which is not something you usually get, right? Most boss fights in games, like especially frantic, like fast-paced ones, are a little bit random. They kind of throw out whatever move they want at kind of, different timings based on like they have big slow moves and they have quick moves, but the Mantis Lords are perfectly balanced as all things should be, and they hit you on the same beats every single time, so the song gets to hit you in the same place, and it's amazing.
Yeah, love that whole soundtrack. All right, now we're on to my last song, which is also Sprack Brooks from Catherine. Here we go. Yeah. That song plays at the bar in Catherine. and it's just like the perfect interlude song. Like from going from all these frantic levels, like chaotic puzzle solving, trying not to die, solving puzzles like incredibly fast, and then it's broken up by this like perfect bar music. It's just very comforting. It definitely adds to the whole vibe of that bar. Like that's like one of my favorite places to just hang out in a video game, to just like chill at that bar, talk to your friends, learn about drinks, and listen to that song. Yeah, it's just good, smooth jazz.
The protagonist's name is Vincent, right?
Yes.
Okay, I thought I remembered that right. Yeah, it's also just that bar is where Vincent chooses to spend pretty much all of his time in the game. So it's good that it has a banger song to go along with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it just perfectly breaks up like the rest of the soundtrack in like all the crazy puzzle solving you're doing. And then you're just there chilling, listening to that tune, something that I'd like to play at work as well.
Fits really well both with like the more kind of depressing notes in Vincent's little story, as well as with like the kind of upbeat, whimsical ones that happen in that bar, right?
Vincent's like a tragic character by his own doing. He's just like a piece of shit. And
Yeah.
it just like encapsulates his like sad, drunken energy very well. Cool.
Is that something you have personal experience with there, Chase?
Of course. On both ends of the bar. Right on. So that's a couple of our favorite tracks from gaming. And then we are just going to quickly, before we close out, touch on what we've all been playing the past week, maybe what we're looking forward to, but we'll make it a little briefer today. So we'll start with our guest, Austin. What have you been playing? What are you looking forward to?
No surprise, much like most of the world, I've been playing Elden Ring. What am I looking forward to? The new Kirby game that's coming out.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
I do want to play that. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, no, I've been having a great time with Elden Ring. Game is massive. Like, I forgot games could be this large, and I'm like, holy shit, there's so much to do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So, especially coming from Pokemon, the gap in like open world design is astonishing. So
Yeah, I bet.
I'm really happy with it.
Cool. Ty, what about yourself?
Yeah, I haven't had a ton of time recently for games, but I did just recently play the game with Games Club games. So I got through Deflector and finished a run of that, and I also played Not for Broadcast, and I enjoyed both of those games. And I'm kind of just whatever free time I have for gaming coming up in the near future is going to be devoted to Elden Ring. I'm probably going to very quickly sink like 40 hours into it as soon as I first get my fingers in the dirt.
Yeah, right on. Kai, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been playing Elden Ring. I haven't played as much as everybody else has, just because, the events of the world that have been going on recently, I haven't really been playing a lot of games recently with what's going on. But when I do, it is Elden Ring. And despite my disappointment with the performance of the game in terms of like just the frame rate issues and stuff like that, the game itself is fantastic. It is more than a worthy follow-up to Souls. And it feels like it's the next step in the evolution of Souls. This is where the series should go. Without it being Souls, of course, but it's a Souls game. With just a little bit of Sekiro and some Breath of the Wild inspiration.
They can call those bonfires whatever they want. They're still bonfires. Like,
It's forever, guys.
like
I
now-
don't care if it's a finger. It's a white soapstone. A lot of fingering. Lots of fingers.
lot of fingers. Like, what's the comment they keep putting? They keep putting like finger. Like it's like you do like finger and then butt and then you put hole. So it's like finger butthole.
Finger butthole.
Oh yeah, try finger butthole. That's it.
Time for head, or every character talks about the two fingers.
Yeah, I swear you go to like almost every like corpse you'll see just like sitting on like a tombstone or grave, and it'll just like be like try like head or something like that. Try head.
See,
Like,
that's the FromSoft veterans. They know how to abuse the messaging system. They're practiced at this.
Oh yeah.
They know a good opportunity for an orange soapstone when they see one.
Yeah, and plus it's just fun to see the ghosts of other players exploring an open world while you're exploring that open world. And you're like, oh, cool, people are actually exploring this area at the same time as me. That's fun.
Yeah.
It was fun in the Souls games, and it's even more fun here.
Yeah, so myself, I beat What Remains of Edith Finch, which is somewhere in my top 20 of all time. I'm going to have to decompress and internalize what that game meant to me, because it was pretty incredible. Lots of tears by the end.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Chase, you're definitely gonna cry. You were
Oh, yeah.
definitely gonna cry at the end of that
Couple
game.
times. I
Like,
think
there's no way you weren't.
Austin, have you played it?
I have not played it. no.
Okay, I'll just lightly say that I think obviously the ending and the last couple moments, and then also for some reason the swing set one. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
that
I
one.
remember.
That
Oh,
one
I
was,
remember.
like,
I remember
big
everyone.
oof
I
for
remember
me
every
too.
short story.
Yeah, but
for me,
incredible.
it was the can factory,
Of
like
course,
the
yeah.
the canned
Yeah.
tuna
The cannery
factory,
is
and
the best one. Yeah.
Yeah,
and the bathtub. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
much more
Yeah.
than that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it also, like, it's emotionally weighty, but it doesn't stop it from being weird and funny, and like it just hits a lot of other notes. It's not just like, here's a depressing game. It's like we're gonna be light with
Kind
it.
of great. Like they layer a lot of the sadder elements and like darker stuff in that story, like kind of in the background for the
sure.
first like 3/4 of the game, and then it doesn't really get up in your face until later on. Like
Exactly.
obviously it's a tragic story. Like that going in, like not to spoil too much about it for Austin who hasn't played it, but from pretty much very early on in the game that this is a story about people who have died.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
is inherently like a tragic concept.
I feel because they cover so many too, and because of its ties to obviously like familial bondage, the different stories are going to hit different people. Like,
True.
you never know which one's going to be the most emotionally impactful for you, because it's all different people who would have been a part of your lives, aunts, uncles, grandpas, like brothers, sisters, all that stuff. So incredible. Then I played a game called Squidlet right after, pretty trash. And then I did the Games Club games, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing Elden Ring, and I've been like just really into Smash lately. I'm excited about the Smash tournaments that Austin brought up. I'm definitely going to go to both of those, and I've just been wanting to like practice Smash. I've been having a lot of fun playing it at the brewery and stuff. So
Well, for starters, hit me up because I'll come play Smash anytime.
okay, cool.
And on a second note, you're not allowed to play Elden Ring. That's illegal. You have to play the entire lineage of FromSoft games first.
Yeah, you need to play the whole. Like, literally, this is a game designed for Soulsborne diehards.
Yeah.
Like, it is
I definitely
so.
like have been wanting to start Dark Souls as soon as possible. Like, hopefully this week I finally get around to it, but at some point in the future this year I'll play Elden Ring.
Chase, now that I'm guessing online services have returned for the rest of the Souls series, we could do something maybe involving Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, I'm down
some
to play co-op. I don't really like, maybe one I'll play through on my own, but I don't really care about I've had
one you have to play on your own.
Yeah.
Like, that game is the best on your own, but 2 is a miserable experience by yourself. It would be horrible to play that game by yourself. It needs to be played with friends.
Yeah, that'll do it for this week's podcast. We're going to cover our Games Club podcast in the next week. And thanks a lot, Austin, for joining us, talking about some music.
Hell yeah.
No worries. It was a lot of
Thanks,
fun.
Austin.
Thank you.
I love listening to a bunch of great video game soundtracks, and some I hadn't heard. So
Yeah, this might be a returning segment depending on if people enjoy it. But seems like a good podcast format just to have people listening to music while they're walking around and stuff. So we'll see you soon. Love you.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
bye.